The British Empire of King George III is now the most powerful that the world has ever known. But it's one thing to draw lines on a map, quite another to control the people who live there. Native Americans are the first to resist British rule and rise up to protect their lands against encroaching settlers. To ease tensions, King George closes Indian lands to new settlement, stationing troops. Colonists back east become outraged when the British Parliament imposes a tax to support these troops. American colonists argue that this tax violates one of their fundamental rights. They believe that the power to tax them lies not with Parliament, but only with the men they elect to their local colonial assemblies. No taxation without representing troops among the people. From New England to the Carolinas, colonists organize illegal shadow governments. They send representatives to Philadelphia for a Continental Congress and stockpile weapons. On April 19, 1775, British troops attempt to seize military supplies in Concord, Massachusetts. Local militia rush to the scene, and a shot heard round the world sounds the beginning of open warfare. Soldiers from other colonies join the New Englanders encircling British-held Boston and are formed into a continental army. These soldiers hailed from different regions with sharply contrasting traditions, faiths, and opinions. Virginian George Washington, the newly appointed commander-in-chief, struggles to keep the peace among his own troops. But together, they are a new army of ordinary people, fighting for their rights against the most powerful empire in the history of the world. But whose rights, and what are they fighting for? An English immigrant living in Philadelphia named Thomas Paine puts it into words.
We have it in our power to begin the world over again.
The American colonies must separate from Britain and create independent states. They must reject monarchy and become republics, governed by and for the people. George III proclaims these people rebels. His former subjects are now his enemies. These so-called rebels begin to call themselves revolutionaries. Across America, men and women proclaim their support for independence and clash with neighbors, friends, and family members who remain loyal to the king. It is now a revolution. Congress issues a Declaration of Independence.
July 4, 1776, the unanimous Declaration of...
This statement of the fundamental principles of the American Revolution is read across the colonies and published around the world.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men are created equal. That they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. That among these are life, liberty, and it's the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government.
For king and ill-equipped, fight and retreat. Fight and retreat. When defeat seems only days away, Washington's counter for the American Revolution. The war will grind forward as the death toll rises. Women and children on the home front struggle to sustain farms and shops. They endure British attacks on their houses and villages. The country is consumed by conflict. Revolutionaries and loyalists clash, while neutrals such as Quaker pacifists face ridicule and abuse.
Such of you as wish to be happy willingly give up.
After 1776, every state north of Maryland begins the process of ending slavery. Even in Virginia and the Carolinas, The moral acceptability of slavery is questioned as never before.
Liberty is equally as precious to a black man as it is to a white one, and bondage equally as intolerable to the one as it is to the other, seeing it affects the laws of nature equally as much as one.
Thousands of African Americans, free and enslaved, join the Continental Army. People, freedom wears a red coat. Tens of thousands flee their rebel masters for British camps. Native Americans are also pressured to choose sides. 4 of the 6 Iroquois nations actively side with the British, while the Oneida and Tuscarora support the revolutionaries.
The disturbances in America give great trouble to all.
The states and the Continental Congress anxiously look abroad for allies. American diplomacy and a surprising victory at Saratoga moved France to form a crucial alliance with the United States. Spain and the Netherlands also eventually joined what has become a global fight against Great Britain. Unable to destroy Washington's army in the north, British commanders take the fight south, where they believe that loyalists and enslaved people will rally to the king's cause. As the British army seizes southern cities, the revolutionaries wonder if their cause will prevail. Washington and French General Rochambeau seize an unexpected opportunity to trap a British army in Yorktown, Virginia. All but the most die-hard Britons are persuaded they must make peace. In 1783, after 8 years of fighting, Great Britain recognizes the United States as an independent country. The Revolutionary War is over. The American Revolution has just begun. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. The Declaration of Independence and the American Revolution make the rights, well-being, and the pursuit of happiness for ordinary people the purpose of government as never before. The Revolution is the most important event